I didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag.
I'm addressing you, Wendy.
Why lying for? What?
I'm addressing you, Wendy. I hope you're listening. Considering that you're high and mighty in the British society, I would like you now to do your mates look a favor. Wendy, I would like you now to do your mate Dave Smith a favor. Wendy, I would like you to do your mate Veli a favor. Wendy, I would like you to do your mate Nanifa a favor. Wendy, by giving them the highest paid QC or KC in this country, their services to take me to court. You understand me? As per usual, what you people do, people like Luke, people like Feli, Nanifa, Dave Smith, you run miles and miles and miles with a story that they don't even know what is going on. That is what you people do. And I'm going to tell you now, you see what's happening to my friend's daughter. I pray to God it happens to those of you that have got grandchildren. It happens to those of you that have got children. It happens to those of you that have got friends and have got children. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying those people. I'm praying to God on a daily basis that it happens to your family. Look around. Wendy Wu, Feli, Nanifa, the bus driver, whatever he calls himself, you lot, I'm praying. That's going to be my prayer from today, that it happens to each and every one of your children. If you haven't got any children, your brother's children. If your brother has not got children, your sister's children. If your sister has not got children, your grandchildren. And your great-great-grandchildren, for those of you that have got grandchildren. Yeah.
Why lying for?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop fucking lying.
You don't have future here. You don't have future. You can never make it. You're supposed to be a dinner man, serving dinner to the students in the secondary school. Because you cannot do basic 1+1. You are here breathing heavy like a dog. Think about your life. You are a failure. You are a failure. You can never make it. You can never, you know you cannot make it. You need to be cutting grass, making this place fresh for the actual footballers that want to use this place. You are tired, you are here. What have you done? Useless. Me with my pregnancy, I'm better than you. Idiot.
My right on the way, the sign off, right on the banana, but every time I get on the bar. All night from coming and alive, I'm gonna get in the ball, the phone, and I'm better by the day, you could have us on your different sign, I know. Walking the bag in the middle of the vibe, I'm the man, I get off my live, I'm the ready rider, DJ, ready to box the next car. But I'm my iPod, my right on the way.
To the ladies, beach settings, infinity. Outside the birthday gang, outside Shannon, outside Amber.
I am a money maker, hands to the edge, I'm a money maker. For one time, you're a money maker. If you're on this change, money maker. Hands to the air, money maker. For one time, money maker. On this thing, money maker. You see us terminal. You see me, you see me. I ain't watching you, I ain't watching her, I ain't watching him. I got to dance and bubble and sing. Terminal 4 with a terminal 3. Terminal 4 with a power goes. When you come to my house, just respect my house. Open my house, to put the other the house. When you come to my house, just respect my house. Blood clots over them. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Hold on, hold on. I'm like, no. I'm like, yeah. Hey, sleep up, hold on. Hey, Wiggy, hold on. I'm like, no. I'm like, yeah. Can I please have your attention? I said, this is the captain's weekend, and I'm in the terminal 4. Can I please have your attention? Early. I'm right on the way, the sign off, right on the banana, but every time I get on the bar. All night from coming and alive, I'm gonna get in the ball, the phone, and I'm better by the day, you could have us on your different sign, I know. Walking the bag in the middle of the vibe, I'm the man, I get off my live, I'm the ready rider, DJ, ready to box the next car. But I'm my iPod, my right on the way.
Come on, you got there another blood clot. How them feel like? Yo, hey, listen. My hands are chapping. Oh my days. Walk on though. What you saying? What you telling me? Lord of mercy. It's not even mad cold outside, but I've been outside for long still. Yeah. So what go on, man? What you saying?
Give me 2 secs, man, and I'll give everyone a quick shout out on them thing there. And them thing there. Yo, what you saying? Yeah, man. Man, I had to box up a man and his mum's yesterday, cause how you mean? Them boy, they don't know what. Shoot up a tree, murder the car. Box up a little girl with your ball. Mad. So what you man telling me, man? Should I start the link in the chat? Or, tell you what, yeah, chill out for a second. I'll start the link in a bit still. It's chapping out though, cuz. Let me spark my squad. Jeez. At ease. And let me smoke some more of them keys. Hey. So what's going on? What's happening? You said you missed the early one, yeah? Oh my diddy. Mad. One second, let me finish this drink. It's chapping out here. Oi. Shout out Simon Harrison, did they? Khan, Wagwan. Old tight Smiler. There you are, Violet Sky, Wagwan. What you say, Nixie, Wagwan, big up yourself. Aye. Old tight Zara Bizzle. There you are. Man like Smiley, you know. OG Ellen James, did they? One sec. One sec, we're nearly done. Come on. Yeah, so yeah, man, big up the Christmas gang. Yeah, man. I don't know if you've lot already yet. Your last weekend and then a couple days. Then it's all done. You still got January, yeah? Remember, you still have January. Come on. Hold tight with you, man. Oh, go on. Jeez. I can't lie, man. I feel fucking battered, mate. Alright. So, reformer liars, the crackheads are criers, and somebody Marrow got flyer. You hear me? What? I got a video lined up. I'm gonna run it in 2 secs. Try and get out the window. Hold on. Okay. Jeez. At ease. And let me smoke some more of these trees. Hey, big up the Friday Mafia, man. I'm on Friday. That's what my kids say in the morning when they get up. Friday. Love it still. All right. Let me run this track over it. Yeah. Epic.
Dominated by the issue of immigration, and while the Reform UK party have been making it a centre of their manifesto and using it to drive a deepening wedge between the moderates and the crazies in the Conservative Party, Richard Tice of Reform doesn't actually have a plan. The BBC is happy to give him a platform to spew his tripe, where he pretty much goes unchallenged. So it's great that somebody like Ollie Dugmore from Politics Joe was there to hold him to account. Have a listen to this.
Let me go back to Richard. When you say you would safely pick these people up, how would you do that in the middle of the channel?
In the same way that they safely pick them up at the moment and bring them to Dover. It's exactly the same process of picking them out of the boat.
So you're going to use the border force. You're going to use the border force. You're going to tow these dinghies. You're going to get on these dinghies. What are you going to do?
Currently, they're picked out of the dinghies and they're safely brought in the border force cutters to Dover. We just change direction and take them back to Dunkirk and Calais. It's not rocket science.
My God, this guy knows nothing. He understands nothing about what's going on. So if there are people in dinghies and they arrive in UK waters, then Border Force will pick them up and take them to Dover. Now, they can't take them back to Calais. They can't take them back to Dunkirk because the French authorities may not permit the UK Navy to deliver people there. And also, what is the point if people are just going to get on the next dinghy and cross the channel once again? His whole shtick is what we're going to do is we're going to pick people up and take them back to France, even if France say we don't want them or we're not going to take them, or what's the point in taking them because they're just going to get on the next dinghy to cross the channel once again.
Right. What do you make of that plan, Ollie?
I think none of the political solutions we just heard have any basis in practicality or compassion. There's a lot of emotive appeals to what about these people who are dying in the Channel? If we cared that much about the people that were dying in the Channel, we put a processing centre in France. No one wants to do that. It was offered by the French. We declined the opportunity to do so. Why do we decline?
Well said, Ollie. Complete.
Pause, you hear that? That's one of them old school belly bars, I lie. Remember? The French offered to make a processing centre in Calais. Conservatives said, nah. That alone would have reduced the boats to nigh or nothing.
Completely correct. The French have said if you want to process asylum claims in France, there are people who want to cross the channel. We don't want them to cross the channel. You're saying you don't want them to cross the channel in these dangerous dinghies. So what we can do is we can process the claims. But the Tories have said no. Why have they said no? Well, because they want to use this issue as a political football.
The opportunity to do so because it would make it easier and safer for these people to cross the channel. It serves a political purpose to demonise them, to have the adjectives being used here, right? Tough, strong, as if these people are some kind of a threat to us. They are some of the most vulnerable people in our society. They are prepared to risk life and limb to try and get to this country. And frankly, the idea that there's some kind of threat to us that needs to be sent back to France or that we need to deter coming here is morally offensive.
They're dying in the English Channel, man.
That's because there are no safe routes. Ollie's just made the point. There aren't safe routes.
Rubbish.
The government keeps saying it's going to introduce safe routes. It hasn't introduced safe routes.
Hang on, Richard. In terms of safe and legal routes, there are some safe and legal routes, as we know, but they don't extend to the countries where many asylum seekers are coming from, do they? Richard?
Are you talking to me or someone in the panel?
No, Richard, that's you.
Look, yes, there are some safe and legal routes, but the reality is the kind and compassionate thing to do is to stop people dying on the English Channel and then do the same in the Mediterranean. You do that by stopping the business model.
This guy is a charlatan. He's a charlatan like many conservatives in the Conservative Party. This is about using an issue like immigration to further his career. He's not interested in stopping the boats. He's not interested in finding solutions. He's not interested in saving lives. This is about saving his career. This is about boosting his image. He knows that there are many crazy people, extremists in Britain, who will vote for a party who they think will send people back. That's all that they want. Send asylum seekers back. The language is completely wrong as well. It's not here, but we've heard it before. Illegal asylum seekers. Illegal immigrants. They don't know what they're talking about, but they know that it's the right type of dog whistle, it's the right type of language that a certain section of society want to hear, and if they hear it enough, they'll come out and vote for it. They'll vote for parties that continue to use it, be it extremists within the Conservative Party like Suella Braverman or Reform UK. These people don't give a crap about the asylum seekers. They care about power, money and power. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. So
How
I had
to
to run
invest
that one.
with-
That was an old school video still, like, but I had to run that one because, you know, the points that I've been making. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I've been spitting them bars for time, you get me? So, run this next one. We got, where is it? This one, that's if player.
He doesn't live here, he doesn't pay taxes here. What right has he got to interfere with our democracy and try and overthrow the government? He has no right at all and he should withdraw. If Mr Musk can legally donate and he feels that's the appropriate thing to do, then obviously we'd be delighted. It would be a fantastic
Alright, sorry, let me make the screen a little bigger, yeah, so I can pull up, bring it back, come rewind, and all them things there, you get me? Yeah? So, like I said to you lot yesterday, enough of these man, they're unhappy when it's a international donation that's from another country that is against their shit, but they're happy to accept donations when the man them are donating towards what they want. So it just show you how Richard Tice, Nigel Farage, and others are just straight hypocrites, man. You know? Let it play it.
overseas, he doesn't live here, he doesn't pay taxes here. What right has he got to interfere with our democracy and try and overthrow the government? He has no right at all and he should withdraw. If Mr Musk can legally donate and he feels that's the appropriate thing to do, then obviously we'd be delighted. It would be a fantastic endorsement of our policies to save Britain and get Britain going again.
I'm worried that Elon Musk has vast amounts of money in which he intends to try and dominate British politics. That does worry me. And there ought to be some laws about, our funding laws on parties are still inadequate. The idea that some global billionaire could buy into a political party and then use unobjective television channels like GB News to endlessly promote that party and those ideas, we're beginning to look a bit like the Fox News media of politics that the USA has been dominated by. He's happy to...
That's facts, cause it's mad, isn't it? Like GB News could never be cast as like a unbiased station. It's literally like Reform TV. Yeah, because like Reform TV and shit. That's mad. Hey, God.
To be a sir, I'm happy for him.
You don't have to call yourself?
I have no wish to have any title whatsoever. I'm happy being Mr. Housing, by a long way, is housing. The people that come and talk to me the most are in deep housing stress, particularly rough sleeping homeless, which is going up, but also really bad levels of overcrowding in council and housing association property.
Yo, I just said that the other day. One bag of people were in temporary accommodation. Loads of people were in overcrowded housing. So can't get a move out. Obviously, there's not enough spaces to get moved into. And there's people that are undersized for house, but obviously they've lived there generationally, but they ain't had the right to buy, so it's still the council's property. Bad things, it's mad still. You know, because man is solely responsible for a catalogue of abuse cut roads in his constituency and his rights. Yeah, he's not a darling of left. Yeah, bring the evidence of that, cuz let's see that. You know what I mean? Typing don't mean nothing, cuz evidence means everything.
Which leads to underachievement by their children in schools because there's simply no space to do homework and study. So we've got to make a priority on social housing.
By now you've seen the picture of Nigel Farage hanging out with Elon Musk at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago mansion, discussing how Elon Musk plans to give Nigel Farage £78 million as an FU to Keir Starmer to help Nigel Farage and the Reform Party take over the government. Now I want you to look at this photo and remember what this man's entire brand has been for the last 8 years. Like, how did he describe Brexit on the day of the referendum result?
A victory for real people, a victory for ordinary people. We have fought against the multinationals, we fought against the big merchant banks, we fought against big politics.
He's even specifically...
Yeah, that. We fought against the multinationals, we fought against the big banks, we fought against so, and then, you know what I mean, like, smart. That's crazy, you hear me? Cause yeah, but crazy. Trust me, cause like so. I don't know. You hear me? Man, shut up, Nixie, man. Going on like you're some fucking scholar out here, man. Move yourself, man. You're a conspiracy nut. Get the fuck out of here, man. About exactly Cone. Shut up, man. Cone ain't actually brought no evidence. He just said it's not mainstream or whatever. And now he's trying to accuse Jeremy Corbyn of being a child abuser or a child abuser cover-up or whatever. It's like, bro, but at least provide the evidence. You get me? Not the fuck, what? He just gonna type it and I'll just say, okay, yeah, that's true. Man, shut up, man. Get out of here. That dumbass shit. Whoa. Let me unmute that.
Chilling in the foreign palace of the American president, the most powerful person on the planet, so that the richest billionaire in the world, Elon Musk, also an American citizen, can funnel millions in cash through a large multinational corporation, also known as Twitter, to him so that he can change the opinions of British voters. And even if we ignore the optics and the hypocrisy of that and say, well, being foreign or being rich doesn't make them bad people.
For him.
Wait, hold on. But you haven't brought no evidence of anything. When we've been still asking you for your evidence on this great replacement specifically, you haven't brought any evidence to show that this great replacement's true or anything. You know what I mean? No, I've never heard of that still. Yeah, but bring it, man. Bring the evidence, innit? It's like, come on, man. That's why he's like funny still. Like, yo, more times I've said to you, like, yo, drop the evidence, bring it on, lay it out, and let's discuss it. You haven't brought no evidence, cuz. You hear me? Well, go on, sugar, man. You got yourself. Yeah, man. It's not just Corbyn. But you specifically said Corbyn was like he was instrumental in covering up a child abuse case. Dropping me a link ain't good enough, guys, man. Bring the evidence on panel and discuss why this evidence proves what you're talking about. Yeah, about that, man. And you need to describe what the evidence is. The evidence is the whole political edifice going right back to Pi, Harriet Harman. Yeah, but you can't cut Harriet Harman and Pi as Jeremy Corbyn, bruv. Like, come on, man. Yes, Jeremy Corbyn was at the centre of it. Yeah, but what did he do at the centre of it? What, was he an advocate for Pi? If he was, you need to bring the evidence of that, cause brother, posting videos don't mean nothing to me. Explain why the shit is real. Like, we've literally shown you 10 million different bits of evidence that are explaining the same thing from 10 different angles that are saying that, yo, this is just some white supremacist conspiracy theory that people were telling foreigners to move to the Western countries to outbreed the Westerners so they can become a minority in their country. That literally don't even make sense, man. This straight from some fucking 1984 George Orwell fucking novel. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, that's not good enough, guys. You just drop me a link and say, no, that's what it is. That's not how we do it. When we bring the evidence for what we say it is, we drop this thing on screen. You see, like now, yeah, we drop the video on screen. Yeah, I have a bits and pieces.
Huge way. About. It has been for many years, indeed.
Yeah. Pause it. Say, yeah, see that. That's where this links up with that. A, B, C. Now that equals D, E, F. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but, come on, man. Your ignorance is not good enough. This is where it's mad, isn't it? It's like even trying to explain to a conspiracy theory why they're or a conspiracy theorist why they're nuts to them is even crazy, isn't it? Because all they're gonna do, like they're doing now, is knock over the chess pieces, shit on the board, fly off back to their corner, and just say, "I won, I won, I won, I won, I won." So it's mad still. Trust me, cuz. But anyway, go on, man.
The campaign in Britain to try and force a second referendum is funded by Mr. George Soros, who has been a US citizen.
This man interferes in elections and referendums all over the Western world.
Not to mention just generally standing against the idea of the global elites undermining the decisions of the British people. So his whole thing has been fighting.
Yo, so right now, yeah, that true, what's his name? Nigel Farage is getting, or at least looking at taking funding from, he's got Nick Candy, who's like a international, or he's at least British based anyway, but a billionaire or whatever, and then Elon Musk is an international billionaire. Is that now you can't not class him as a WEF puppet, as the way that you lots go? Because that's what a lot of the far right dons talk about, right? That any of these men are dealing with international blah 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 is rah rah rah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, these men are working with the WEF. The WEF. You haven't provided no evidence. Literally, every time you're on the panel, you just scream, going, "Yeah, the Jews, the Jews!" It's like, bro, that's not fucking evidence, man. That's not evidence to me, anyway. Like, that's not convincing enough to me. You just screaming the Jews, the Jews, the Jews every 2 seconds. That kind of fucking evidence. That's not no evidence, man. Get out of here. Stop saying you've provided evidence, because you haven't provided no bloody evidence. Like, you literally have. That's the one thing you haven't done. Provided evidence. Like, stop saying that, because that's actually annoying. You typing in the chat like you provided some big documentary and some flipping charts that lead to this, that, and the other, and even some speeches that show that these people have been saying that, yeah, you know what, we're going to get rid of the white race. You haven't showed nothing of the sort, or nothing that even leads to that. You hear me? Yeah, because you haven't showed nothing of the sort. Stop it. Yeah. Mm. Like, stop that.
Like Jewish Holocaust survivor George Soros funding political campaigns in the UK as election interference.
US money is flooding into Europe in a huge way. It has been for many years. Indeed, the campaign in Britain to try and force a second referendum is funded by Mr. George Soros, who has been a US citizen.
This man interferes in elections and referendums all over the Western world.
Not to mention just generally standing against the idea of the global elites undermining the decisions of the British people. So his whole thing has been fighting for the well-being of British working class people against the elites' operations. Yet now he's chilling in the foreign palace of the American president, the most powerful person on the planet, so that the richest billionaire in the world, Elon Musk, also an American citizen, can funnel millions in cash through a large multinational corporation, also known as Twitter, to him so that he can change the opinions of British voters. And even if we ignore the optics and the hypocrisy of that and say, well, being foreign or being rich doesn't make them bad people. What if they're trying to do a good thing? But what is Nigel Farage actually trying to do? It's things like this.
And I think we're going to have to move to an insurance-based system of healthcare. I would feel more comfortable that my money would return value if I was able to do that through the marketplace of an insurance company than just us trustingly giving 100 billion a year to central government.
So making it so that your ability to access healthcare depends on your ability to afford it at a market rate, which will obviously work out really well for billionaires, not so much for the people that are currently suffering in a cost of living crisis. In fact, it gives the phrase cost of living an even deeper meaning. And obviously his main project has been Brexit, which according to him,
we haven't actually benefited from Brexit economically.
And his party,
we're getting poor for a variety of reasons, of which Brexit is one.
In fact, they've explicitly said that they plan to make us even poorer.
You know what's funny? Yeah? While you're in the chat typing, yeah, but you only play mainstream media, rah, 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 yeah, you're actually hearing the people from their mouths saying Brexit has made you poorer. What are you talking about? Like, that's what we call evidence. So with the people from their mouths, the claim that I make, Brexit has made the country poorer. The people that propose Brexit on the screen right now saying Brexit made us poorer. That's what we call evidence. Yeah, that's evidence. Confirmation, evidence, there. In the fucking gift bow and done. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, stop chatting shit, man, and making shit up. Like, you're just saying, like, rah, you might have someone saying something inconspicuous, and now you're going to say that it means something to fit your narrative. That's not fucking evidence. Huh? That's not no fucking evidence, you spazzes, man. Shut up, man. Stop doing that, man. Like, evidence is, like, how... Listen, let me rewind this shit here. Yeah? 1 sec. Okay, over here, man. Oh, shit.
So his whole thing has been fighting for the well-being of British working class people against the elites and large multinational corporations. Yet now he's chilling in the foreign palace of the American president, the most powerful person on the planet, so that the richest billionaire in the world, Elon Musk, also an American citizen, can funnel millions in cash through a large multinational corporation, also known as Twitter, to him.
All right, you see there? All the claims made, yeah? And then watch what he does after. After he's made the claims, watch what he does specifically, yeah?
Him so that he can change the opinions of British voters. And even if we ignore the optics and the hypocrisy of that and say, well, being foreign or being rich doesn't make them bad people. What if they're trying to do a good thing? But what is Nigel Farage actually trying to do? It's things like this.
And I think we're going to have to move to an insurance-based system of healthcare. I would feel more comfortable that my money would return value if I was able to do that through the marketplace of an insurance company than just us trustingly giving 100 billion a year to central government.
So making it so that you're...
Right, you see that there? So he said, my man wants to get rid of the NHS and get the insurance thing. Then played the clip of him saying, look, we want to get rid of the NHS and get American-style insurance. For fuck's sake, cuz. You're talking about, but that's not evidence. That's just a source. All right, mate.
Your ability to access healthcare depends on your ability to afford it at a market rate, which will obviously work out really well for billionaires, not so much for the people that are currently suffering in a cost of living crisis. In fact, it gives the phrase cost of living an even deeper meaning. And obviously his main project has been Brexit, which according to him,
we haven't actually benefited from Brexit economically.
And his party,
we're getting poor for a variety of reasons, of which Brexit.
Yeah, that. Yeah, so we claim Brexit's not working and it's making us poorer. Then the people that are the champions, the main frontliners of Brexit, say Brexit's not working and it's making us poorer. Then he's going to say Brexit's we've become a poorer nation, Brexit being one of the reasons. God damn, man, how simple is that?
Is one. In fact, they've explicitly said that they plan to make us even poorer, damaging our food supply for the next 20 years.
You have to swallow your medicine to get better in the future. So this is maybe a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan.
So in that time, we'd have made food significantly more expensive before we can actually make our own.
Sometimes you have to take a little pain with some things for it to work.
That is what would happen if Elon Musk was successful in helping Nigel Farage become Prime Minister. So the man who framed
Yeah, if you can do the same sort of style there, you're like with this great replacement thing, yeah, where you can say, yes, we're letting people in to replace these people. We're inviting people to replace people. And there's no other reason but to replace people, then you might at least have a chance at styling with this, you know what I mean? Like, but if you're just saying it, like, that's not evidence, fam. Like, you can't just bring that to me as evidence or whatever. Cohen, I don't know why you keep typing or what you're typing about this Jeremy Corbyn shit or whatever. Like, you just said you ain't even provided evidence or pointed in the direction of it. You're just talking about Harriet Harman supporting Pi, and it's like, bro, why has that got Jeremy Corbyn's name over it then? Provide the Jeremy Corbyn evidence. We can look into that, innit? Like, but I don't know what you're typing about, because you're having a stake out.
Himself as being a working class hero fighting back against the global elites is now deliberately making working class people poor while riding in an American billionaire's limo. And he's doing it in typical Nigel Farage fashion, with lies and smiles. Because this is what he said about taking money from Elon Musk 2 weeks ago.
Elon Musk, what I'm more interested in is who's democratically elected.
You've got to worry about him giving him $100 million. Don't worry about that.
Who's democratically elected to represent the interests of a country?
I mean, if he
with
offered
which
it,
we have
Nigel,
a very close relationship.
would you take it if he offered it?
It's a fantasy. And by the way, we won't get the money.
So he called it a fantasy, said it would not happen. And yet now...
We did talk about money, and we will have ongoing negotiations on that. I mean, he is fully behind us. He wants to help us. He's not opposed to the idea of giving us money, provided we can do it legally through UK companies.
Look, if it did happen, well, that'd be great.
So Elon Musk wants to give him the money, he wouldn't say no if it was offered, and they're currently negotiating. Now, A, that means it's going to happen. B, negotiating, with a donation, you just give the person the money. Negotiating means you're getting something back. So what exactly is Nigel Farage promising Elon Musk? Because that sounds a lot to me like a foreign billionaire is buying the ability to change UK policy. Which sounds bad, which is why it's...
No, you made one claim today. I asked you to, yo, where's the evidence for that, yeah? And then you've been typing essays ever since, bro. Don't act like I'm harassing you for evidence. Yeah, you made the claim, and I told you to provide the evidence for your claim. Make this into something else. Now you get me, cause like you lot are mad. You know what I mean? Like, all right.
Legal in the UK to accept donations from foreign individuals, unless of course that foreign individual owns a multinational corporation which has a branch in the UK through which he can funnel the money. So Nigel Farage is deliberately using a loophole to undermine British democracy. And yes, there are rules about how much parties can spend during an election, but that only covers the regulated period, which is the year just before the election actually happens. We're now almost 5 years away from an election, so the reform
Oh yeah, I just need to go to the toilet, yeah. But the video is going to be playing still, man. So it might cut out while I'm not hearing it. But it's yeah, I'm back in 2 seconds.
Reform Party can spend that millions in cash now, boosting their social media, poisoning the minds of young boys. We've already seen that Nigel Farage is huge on TikTok because he wants to go after 15, 16, 17-year-old boys. Which is why, and this is one of the only things I ever agree with Nigel Farage on, we need to start taking advantage of the benefits of Brexit. Because unlike in America, unlike in France, we have seen the agenda of Nigel Farage play out. We watched Nigel Farage push for Brexit for decades and it has made people poorer. And they have admitted that. So we need to use that when we're talking about the Reform Party, which, let's remember, was originally called the Brexit Party. That's their entire reason for existing. So they are on record as admitting that the reason they exist has made working class people poorer. So if we allow a billionaire's cash to allow them to paint themselves as the champions of working class people, we would deserve everything that comes from that. And that's one of the reasons they're targeting 15-year-old boys, because 15-year-old boys weren't politically aware back when Nigel Farage was making all the promises around Brexit. They would have been 7 years old. Nigel Farage is deliberately targeting the young and vulnerable. So you need to be having that conversation with every person, especially every young person you know. And by the way, the loophole that allows Nigel Farage to take millions in cash from Elon Musk but via Twitter, guess who left that door open? Oh yeah, it was the Tories. But if Keir Starmer isn't willing to legislatively close that door, then it's going to be up to us. By now you've seen the picture of Nigel Farage hanging out with...
You might have seen that Nigel Farage met with Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago, and we should all be concerned. As I'm sure we are all aware, Elon Musk is reportedly considering donating £79 million to Reform UK. To give you an idea of how much money that is in British politics, here is how much money political parties at the last election raised. So £79 million is a lot of money and influence that could do a lot of damage. Let's also not forget that Musk owns Twitter, which was used during the UK race riots to spread lies and misinformation about the identity of the Southport attacker and fuel tensions in the UK, tensions that Farage used to his advantage and continues to do so. And it's very clear that Musk likes to be involved. He's currently working with Trump after donating his time and resources to help Trump get re-elected. So if Farage does receive a load of money from Elon Musk, he's not going to let Farage do whatever he wants. He's going to want to take an active role in proceedings. Now, you would think, given that Farage has long rallied against foreign unelected bureaucrats interfering in British politics, that the idea of accepting money from a foreign unelected bureaucrat who wants to interfere in British politics would be alien to him and go against his political values, but time will tell. But Farage becoming Prime Minister in our lifetime is inevitable, so long as we have a Labour government that is not committed to improving the country. Support for Reform UK and Farage will go up as they present themselves as forces for change and reform. A political party like that in charge of government beholden to a narcissistic billionaire would be catastrophic for the UK.
Yo, say just in time, yeah? Man. Hey. Oh my diddy. Oh my days. My hands are still wet still, but god damn. God damn. Yo, I listen. We're gonna be rapping in a bit still. I'll tell you what, let me slap the link in the chat for a minute still. Yeah. See if any pussy want to try to test me. You get me? Yeah. There we go. There we go. And you know what's funny about this claim that Soros funds every single conspiracy theory in the world or whatever is that the funny thing about that is that the funny thing about that is that if you actually do a calculation of how many right-leaning people donate and how much they donate and how much left-leaning people donate, you'll see that the right donations, the Republican donation, the conservative donations outweigh the left-wing donations like by quite a large amount. These men only open their mouth when it's donated to something against their shits. You hear me? Right, I need to have a hot drink. It's shapping outside, man. God damn, my hands ain't warmed up yet. I need to go back out in a sec still. So, yeah. Oh, mate. I ain't doing shit now, bro. I'm just chilling. Like a fucking villain. How you mean? Man, alright, man. Stella Creasy, chart to them.
Passed tax cuts in their final years in office, which the country could not afford. Now, there may have been genuine shocks around the world, but we can see the damage that the Conservatives did, and we can see they chose to compound that with bad choices. Madam Speaker, they didn't just break Britain, they slashed it and burned it to the ground to make it mean that this government's first year in office is a salvage operation. Their decision to prioritise fake tax cuts over sustained investment in our public infrastructure has cost us all dearly. Those who think are sceptical on what I'm saying should stand in an A&E now and still see the trolleys in the corridor as the 7.9 billion people still wait for hospital operations. They should talk to the schools with rack concrete and the councils barely clinging to being able to provide social care. The police who just don't exist on our streets. Vandals, all of the previous government, and we've all seen the damage. The challenge before us in this piece of legislation is to make sure that this government does not make the same mistakes, but instead addresses head-on the foundations that we need to build. Because the truth that all of our constituents need to face those public expectations, is that we do need to talk more openly about the fact that having better services does require better funding through taxation. That the broken Britain that we now see will not fix itself with a bit of time, or worse, you cannot distract the public from the problems that they see by giving them somebody else to blame. Trans people, refugees, immigrants.
Bro, are you really trying to say that there was no, in the 14 years that Conservatives and Condem took power, there was no cuts to any spending for public services? Is that what you're really trying to claim? Are you mad? Come on, you gotta behave yourself, man. Like, make an honest argument at least. Like that, I'm not even answering it. So there was definitely no cuts to no public things. Yeah, so I can't show you a video right now of all the different public services that got cut, bus routes that got cut, flipping all the Sure Start centres that were closed, school playgrounds that was lost. All these different places that were just gone. Behave yourself, man. Stop it, man. Get out of it, man.
The challenge before us in this piece of legislation is to make sure that this government does not make the same mistakes, but instead addresses head-on the foundations that we need to build. Because the truth that all of our constituents need to face those public expectations, is that we do need to talk more openly about the fact that having better services does require better funding through taxation. That the broken Britain that we now see will not fix itself with a bit of time, or worse, you cannot distract the public from the problems that they see by giving them somebody else to blame. Trans people, refugees, immigrants, women, foreigners generally. That is a fantasy that the British public did not buy at the last election, and they should not be promised again. They know we have a difficult road ahead. They know there are difficult choices to make, and they will back them if they can see there is a reason to do it. Because infrastructure is not just about roads and rail. It's about the services people need every day to be able to get to work and manage all of their commitments, including childcare. But I will brook no lectures, again, as somebody who spent 14 years urging the previous government to invest in childcare, for their sudden Damascene conversion to the idea that it matters. Childcare is economic infrastructure. The member is chuntering from a sedentary position. He voted against time and time again the proposals put forward to make childcare an economic infrastructure matter that many of us put forward. The amendment before us as new Clause 4 is about how we best invest in our people to be able to grow our economy. Because as we make tough choices, the importance is to do it in a way that means our productivity improves. And that means looking out for parents as well as potholes. We are now in the middle of the biggest expansion of childcare in this country to try to get to a point where every parent can access 30 hours of free childcare for all under fives. Because under the last government, some parents were paying more for childcare than they were for their rent or their mortgage. The previous government repeatedly failed to invest, and then it made promises that it knew it could never keep, pushing up demand without increasing supply. So we know on this side we must not make the same mistake. It is absolutely vital for our economy to make childcare more accessible and affordable, and we know we have a road to go. I know how hard the Minister is working to get the economy growing again. I know he's going to hear pleas from every single sector about the impact of the national insurance changes, because these are difficult changes. Nobody should be under any illusion. I am here making a plea about the childcare sector because I believe in the end it will pay for itself. Our ability to get more people back to work, especially mums who end up all too often bearing the burden of childcare, means that we will get more taxes in and we will get more investment in as a result. And it is particularly a factor in the childcare sector because it's a people-intensive industry. Staffing costs make up for 75% of a nursery's running costs, compared to 30% for the average restaurant. So I hope the Minister, if he will not accept new Clause 4, can tell us what work the Treasury is doing to make sure that childcare as a form of economic infrastructure will be able to grow and support this country as it recovers from the last 14 years of Conservative government. Because we know all of those who will be affected by this, the choice to work, the choice to stay in work, the choice to stay open and run a nursery, are literally the ones who have been paying the price of having a Conservative government. We do not wish to make them pay over again. The Conservatives broke Britain. We now need to be honest about the work and the investment that it will take to repair it.
Alright, one more video, yeah, then I gotta flick out still, man. I need to go and do something with the kids and that, man. So. One more. This one there. Serious one there.
And so I'd be grateful if you could explain to the committee why you took the decision to freeze the local housing allowance rate this year.
Well, we are in housing crisis, you're absolutely right. The way out of that crisis is actually to ensure that we've got a sufficient number of homes, roofs over people's heads in all the areas that are needed, which is one of the major drivers of the housing crisis that we're in, and that's why we've been clear in our ambition to build homes, 1.5 million homes over the period of this Parliament, and within that to make sure that there's a significant number of affordable homes. So that's, I completely accept the definition of a housing crisis. We need to make sure that we have the wherewithal to get out of that crisis.
Just on that, you've talked about homes. In less than a week, most of us in this room will be able to spend Christmas with our loved ones in a warm, safe home. But yet 160,000 children are going to wake up on Christmas Day in temporary accommodation. And there was a feature on the BBC News last night, on News at 10, which showed the reality of people paying thousands of pounds for temporary accommodation, which was frankly overflown with sewage. This is the reality people are facing, Prime Minister. And most of them are only in this situation because they lost the safety net of the LHA freeze. And the ONS data yesterday showed that average rent rises is going up by 9.3% in the private rented sector. Prime Minister, do you really understand?
So, obviously, the freeze in housing benefit rises or whatever is one of the austerity faults as well, right? So people can't afford to go into different rents or end up having to pay extra on top of the rents in these temporary accommodation places because they've not been able to get moved to another place, bro. I don't know why man are trying to act like there actually wasn't no such thing as austerity. Like, really an argument you're trying to take on that is a funny argument still. Like, we ain't even finished coming out of the back end of austerity. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, the only reason why the waspy women can't get compensation is because of the fucking fuck ups from austerity and all that. Because the money wasn't managed right in them sort of times there. Do you know what I mean? All them sort of shit there, bro. Yo, mad. Crazy you, cuz, yeah, but God, man. Let it play. Hey, you got 10 minutes, fam. If no one jumps on, then we're out of here, man. You know what I mean? Like, but you know how it goes, cuz. Yeah.
the impact of freezing and making this decision?
Yes, and can I just take I mean, the numbers you quote to me on homelessness and temporary accommodation are appalling. That is what we've inherited, and you will have seen that just in the last week or two, the Deputy Prime Minister's set out the further money we're putting into dealing with homelessness and temporary accommodation, and the money that she's putting into local councils, and the initiatives that we are supporting. The Mayor of Manchester, for example, has been bearing down on homelessness, as you know, and we want to build on that around the country, and that's why we put that money aside. But yeah, it's a terrible inheritance.
But
it's record numbers.
Yeah,
and
but
it's
Prime Minister,
shocking.
do you understand that the additional funding to address homelessness is effectively redundant if you're not dealing with the root cause of why people have been forced into temporary accommodation, including freezing the LHA allowance?
Well, we've got to put the money in to support them in the homelessness and the temporary accommodation, and that is what we're doing. And these figures have been very high for a long time. We've inherited them, and we need to turn them around.
We are very grateful and we welcome the government's ambition in terms of new homes, but these figures that you've quoted, that 1.5 million, they have to be deliverable. You may be aware, Prime Minister, that new dwellings dropped this year, and the number of planning permissions, again, the number of planning permissions granted also fell by 15%. So earlier on you talked about planning reform, you talked about regulation, additional powers for councils. This is only part of the jigsaw in building that. There is a big lag across the supply chain. We don't have the raw materials, we don't have the skilled workforce. So in light of this, and coming back to your ambition and the government's ambition, do you think you're going to hit this 1.5 million target over the course of this Parliament?
Yes, that's why I set it out. I accept it's difficult, I accept it's stretching, but it's hugely important. A home is a base camp for the aspirations and opportunities of all individuals and all families, a safe and secure roof over their head. Amongst the reasons, you're quite right about the numbers this year of houses that haven't been built because the targets were put up and then they were taken down. We've put the targets back up and made them mandatory. We've been really clear that this has to be locally led, so that it's for those within the locality to decide how they're going to comply with the targets, and if they can do so, then all well and good, no need for any intervention from government. If they can't, then we will intervene and push forward. We've been really clear that if it's a brownfield site, then it's a yes by default on planning. That's something that hasn't been there before. And we're also equally clear that we'll make use of the grey belt where it's necessary to do so. That's disused car parks, petrol stations, etc. But we intend to, and the planning reforms, obviously you'll have seen the consultation ended and the framework was issued just a few days ago. These are all the ingredients, in my view, that have been missing and why we haven't been building homes. 1.5 million is ambitious, it hasn't been done for decades, it's desperately needed, you know, and I also know we've got to punch through this because everybody says to me, government needs priorities. Of course it does. As soon as we put priorities up, then everyone says, well, what have you left out? It's unachievable. I don't accept that. I think this is an achievable target, difficult though it is, and we're determined to achieve it.
And again, we commend that, we welcome that, but do you think it's right then that the government haven't set targets in terms of how many homes they'll deliver a year? They haven't set out what tenure those homes will be, but yet you're asking local councils to report back on their targets. Another thing that's coming up, which we've looked at in our committee, is the fact that the skill force and the sector are not able to cope with helping the government build that. Again, coming back to my question, do you really think you can hit that target?
Yes, I do. And just on the targets, the way in which we've done it is to say, here's the mandatory target for each area. We want each area to decide for itself how it's going to meet those targets. What's the mix that they want? Where do they want it? It needs to be locally driven. And so at the first instance, we want that to be the way in which it gets delivered. But what we're not going to tolerate is where that doesn't happen and there isn't a plan put forward to meet the targets, that we're going to leave it as nothing happens. And at that point, the government will intervene. So that's why we're not, as it were, saying in each and every area, you must have this number of houses on that point there. because we don't want to do it in that way. We want it to be local plans. But we're being equally clear that if we don't get the local plans that meet the targets, then yes, there will be levers that we will pull centrally to make sure that that housing is delivered. Yes, of course, that means we've got to work on the supply chains. Yes, of course, it means we've got to have the skills in place. But that's why you need a priority. That's why you need a sense of driving mission to bring this together. And amongst my jobs is to chair the stock takes of the work we're doing, to get the various players around a room like this, to make sure that we've got the skills, the supply chains, the numbers, the targets, with an assessment of where we are on the data. And that's the way we'll drive through this.
Yo, but that's not true, bro. What happens here is we judge people on what they do, right? So let them carry out, like we said, the same thing we're talking about, that court case with the young boy, right? That killed the little girls. Once the case goes through, he gets found guilty, and then they can go into the details of it. Now we might be able to discuss how you could prevent something like that happening in the future or whatever, because you'll be able to understand the ins and outs of what happened, right? So the same sort of thing is that I didn't vote for Keir Starmer. I didn't even tell people to vote for Keir Starmer. But now he's in power and he's got a plan set out. Yeah, you can only judge him on the stuff that he's doing after it's been done, or if he actually gets to complete it. Then you can cast judgment on what's been done. Like, I know you guys don't do that. Yeah, that's how I do it. Strange to other people, right? But you know what I mean? Like, but go on. All right, listen, 2 minutes left.
I'm not going to be a defeatist on this and say it's impossible to get the supply chains. I don't accept that. We'll be defeatist and say we're never going to get the skills. I don't accept that. Do I accept it's a stretch? Do I accept it's ambitious? Yes, I do. But we're determined to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to pick up, Prime Minister, because in response to Ms Ashalomi, when she was talking about not lifting the local housing allowance so that people can afford a home of their own, you said, and I may slightly misspeak with quoting you, you said something along the lines of, we are putting money in to support people in temporary accommodation. That leaves an impression that you're supporting people in temporary accommodation over supporting people into permanent homes. I just wondered if that's what you meant to say, or if you'd like to clarify that point.
No, we're doing both.
Okay, so you're going to lift the local housing allowance, the LHA?
No, I'll give you the details of the money that we laid out just a few days ago.
Yeah, we know about the money for temporary accommodation, but it was the local, perhaps Ms Ashalomi, just give it one more.
Essentially, the additional funding that councils have received is going to be absorbed because rents are going up higher, and this is forcing families up and down the country into temporary accommodation for much longer. Yeah. We shouldn't be calling it temporary accommodation, Prime Minister. People are there for 14, 15 years.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. And that is because, or amongst the reasons for that, and the drivers for that, are because the average age for owning your own home now is over 35 years old. And so many people...
So these are people who will never own their own home, that people have to rent because they can't afford to.
Hear me out on the rents have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Because the competition for rented accommodation is through the roof. It's through the roof because we haven't been building enough houses, and therefore too many people want the same accommodation. It means the landlords are put in a prime position.
Yeah, we know all that. So yes, but what about the local? So you're ruling out completely lifting the LHA because that would help some people get their own homes rather than the temporary accommodation that Ms Ashalomi.
All of that has been set out in the budget, and we're not unpicking the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Toby Perkins MP.
Thank you very much, Chair. Prime Minister, you've been clear that you will back the builders, not the blockers. We know who the builders are, I think. So who are the blockers?
Well, those that say we shouldn't have targets for housing, those that say we should build here, those that have stood in the way for years.
I'm a bit more specific. I mean, who are these people that are doing this?
Well,
are we talking about planning committees, local councils? Are we talking about local residents groups? Who are these blockers?
Well, all of the above. I was at a housing development in the course of the elections up in York Outer, looking at some housing that had been put up, and it was 20 years from the plan going in before the houses I was looking at were being built, and it was going to be 25 years before that housing estate was completed. That is never going to be enough to get growth in this country. Equally, I was inquiring about onshore wind farms and how long it would take to get one up. And I was told by someone that I thought was totally credible that you could build a wind farm in.
Hey, what's crazy, yeah? Before Keir Starmer got elected, he's doing shows talking about they need to look at the planning permissions and the bureaucracy into building infrastructure within the UK. Because obviously, it's taking extremely long times for all these sort of things to go through, which is having a knock-on effect on the housing situation, rents going up, the cost of houses and all that sort of stuff there. Like, so... I don't know how much clearer you need to hear it. You hear me, cuz? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much clearer you man need to hear it still, yeah. But, jeez, you see, you hear me? All right, man. So, hey, listen, yeah. I'm about to go and get these boys from school and all that right now still, man, so I'm gonna bring them in the shop and all that shit as well still, so I'm gonna play this video until they come to the gate and then we out of here.
2 years. I said, good, because we want clean power by 2030. He then said, well, we won't have that because it'll take 13 years before we get power. I said, well, talk me through that. He said, I'll lose 5 years to planning because somebody will object and I'll be in court for 5 years. I said, well, that needs fixing, but that only gets me to 7 years. I said, what about the other 6 years that takes you to 13? He said, well, the grid that needs to connect me won't begin to crawl towards me until I've got power coming out of my wind power, and then it's going to take 6 years for the grid to get to me. So 13 years for a 2-year project, that's the blockers, and it's no wonder that we're not going to get anywhere unless we get that out of the way. The other example, just that etched on my brain, Scunthorpe Steel, I went up to the steelworks at Scunthorpe, they've got an electric arc furnace they think will be ready by 2029, the grid is going to connect them in 2034. We can't go on like that if we want to grow our... Well, exactly, that's why we want to get rid of the planning regulations.
Mr Perkins was asking
that's why we want to change the regulations, we want to get our hands on the grid, because if we don't do those, we'll be stuck with these blockers for a very, very long time.
Mr Perkins.
Okay, so in terms of the infrastructure, I mean, that's your responsibility. In terms of those people like councillors, local communities, that's obviously a key area. Britain's already one of the most nature-depleted nations on earth. Do you think that the current protections for nature in our planning system are excessive?
I think we could get the balance better. I do think we should obviously take measures to protect our environment, to protect nature, of course I do. But I think that we could do it differently. And so one of the proposals, as you know, that we're working on is the question of whether that balance should be struck on each and every application and project, one by one, case by case, or whether it can better be lifted so that you could look at the balance over a wider area, which I think would make a lot more sense.
So the question there would be who pays for that. If it's not the developer, we currently have biodiversity net gain, so on a case-by-case basis they have to replace the nature that they build over. If it's not them, who pays?
I think the developer should pay into a fund that could be used to get that balance right. So I'm not saying they should be exempted from paying in. What I am saying is if you do it on a case-by-case basis, you can get quite a lot of results which slow things down, don't seem on the face of it to make a lot of sense.
So
that doesn't mean that we shouldn't protect nature and the environment.
Okay,
but
well,
I think
on that, the National Planning Policy Framework lists 3 objectives: economic, social and environmental. Is it the case that that order is not accidental, that you see that it being the priorities for you, economic, then social, then environmental, or are they 3 sort of equally important issues?
I think they're equally important, but I do think that for far too long we've had projects held up for problems that, whether it's, there are plenty of examples of newts and bats, you name it, or environmental issues, where if we'd looked at it in a slightly more strategic way, I think we could have got through the problem more quickly and more easily. It's not to downgrade the importance of the environment or nature, but I do think we can look at it differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone listening to your speeches will hear a lot more on the you mentioned the newts are getting in the way of people. What do you think planning officers who are looking at applications, what's the message you want them to hear from this government in terms of nature?
Well, it's important, but we want to build, we want to grow. If there's one inhibitor of our country over the last 14 years, it's been the failure of growth. And we intend to turn that around. And we can't turn it around without changing things. What I've done in years in opposition is ask myself, why have we had low growth in this country for 14 years? And I've walked through, I don't know how many examples with people who know what they're talking about. Having then worked out what's wrong, I intend to put it right. And therefore, yes, we put the emphasis on growth and on the economy. We've been through the worst cost of living crisis since I don't know when. And we were elected in to change that, to change